Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to write an if-else statement, okay?
hmm
So we're gonna need something on the UI to give us a value that we can run a conditional on. And I think the easiest way to do that is with a checkbox, because the value of the checkbox is gonna be either true or false. It's pretty simple,
Right.
right? So it is the fifth down in all Windows forms in the toolbox section. And we can drag and drop it onto our screen here. Just wherever. So make sure it's selected, and we're going to go to our properties, properties tab.
hmm
Do we all have that open still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I do.
I'm going to assume he's good till he says otherwise. Fun. So the first thing we change anytime we drop a new element under our form is going to be the name field, the name property under design. It's in parentheses name. This is the name we're going to call it by, the nickname we're going to call it by inside of code. So I like to do a couple of letters to represent what kind of element it is, followed by kind of a short description of what it does. So we're going to call this one CB for checkbox, both lowercase, and the uppercase C. No, not C, sorry, capital A. I'm going to do allow. So CB, capital A, allow.
What would be the problem with leaving it what it originally was?
There really isn't a problem with leaving it, but it gets really confusing when you start writing making a bigger project.
So the names that they automatically assign
Yeah,
are
because
in general confusing.
if you have 20 buttons on a screen or something, or labels is a really good one. If you have like 20 labels with different text on them, it's just going to be like label 19, label 18, and it's going to be really hard to remember which one
Okay,
is
okay.
which when you're in code.
I think we talked about that last time, but I
Yeah, yeah.
forgot.
No, that's good. Yeah, and just so we know, what this checkbox is going to do is it's going to allow us to click
Mhm.
the button and change the text, because last week we set it up to where we click the button and the text changes to hello world.
Okay.
We're going to get the value of this checkbox, and we're going to determine whether or not this changes or if we want it to do something else. So we're going to do CB allow. And then I'm going to change the text property, which is under font. It's up a little bit. I'm going to change that to allow change. And this is a string, so you can have spaces. You can write whatever you want that's not picky. Basically anything can go into a string. I'm going to click off of it.
What did you just okay, text allow change?
Yep. Ty, you good? Okay.
Of course, I
Okay.
put in these big stiletto nails right before I have to type. Always happens.
It's funny.
Allow change.
Yep. If you want to mess with the font or the size, you can. I don't know, I might make it a little bigger. Obviously not required. Just gonna... Oh, that's too big. Nothing's really required. This isn't school. Do whatever you want.
What would image do? Like,
Probably...
can you upload an image of a
Yeah.
whatever?
Yep. I don't know exactly where it would go on a checkbox. You probably have to Google the .NET
Is it just
framework
I
documentation, but
right.
yeah, it'll throw an image in there somewhere, probably in the checkbox or behind it or something. Yeah, if it's there, it'll do something. Cool.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I hate Laptop mouse pads. I changed a couple things, the alignment, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, or you can always
I
Control
don't
Z
think
out
it's
of it
gonna
if you
be
want, but
an issue, but we'll just leave it changed.
okay, that's fine. So we're not going to create any more events. We're just going to read the value of this. So we're going to go into our form1.cs tab where our code is. Hello. Where we've got our button hello world underscore click event
Mhm.
and function. And if we take a look at this, we can see that it is set to private. It is not expecting a data type, or a returned type, so we don't have to worry about return keyword or anything in here. And then we've got some parameters that we actually don't care about, but they're here if we want them. And so inside of this, we're going to make some changes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and delete everything inside of this click event to start from scratch. So that's just going to be, it's for me, it's line 17 and 18, but it's the hello world.text equals, I did hey there world, and the button hello world.backcolor. Just going to get rid of those so we can start from the beginning.
Okay.
And make sure you
Done.
click back over to where you're indented. I don't know if you can see it on my
Got it.
screen. I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. And now we're going to declare our first variable. Woo! So I'm going to do, we want it to be a boolean because it's going to hold true or false. So I'm going to do bool, space, and then we're going to declare its name, and I'm going to call it allow. And I'm just going to do all lowercase. So we're going to call this variable allow. I'm going to do space equals and space again. We're going to assign something to this variable. So for the checkbox, it's got a property called checked, and that property will be true or false based on whether or not the checkbox is checked, which I guess is pretty self-explanatory. But so I'm going to call that checkbox, which we named it CB allow. I'm going to grab that
Mhm.
guy. I'm going to do dot, and look, it already knows what I'm after. It's smart. Dot checked, and then semicolon because we got to the end of a statement.
Okay.
Follow?
Yep.
All right. Yep. So this is going to get that value, assign it to our new Boolean variable. Next, we want to do some stuff based on that information. So I'm going to hit return twice because I want a little space between where I declare my variables and where I do some code. Just keeps it nice and clean. And we're gonna write our first if statement. So I'm gonna show you the syntax. First thing is you're gonna need the if keyword. You're gonna do space, and then you're gonna have an open parentheses and a closed parentheses. And inside of those parentheses, we're gonna have our conditional.
Okay.
So our conditional is gonna be pretty simple. I know we can do allow equals true if we want to. But if we remember from the documentation, it's already going to be evaluating for true or false. So
Okay.
technically, we can just do if allow, right? Because that value already outputs true.
Okay.
So the result of this conditional will be true, which means we will be stepping into our if block. That's going to be an open curly bracket, like that, close curly bracket, and then just hit return and it'll format it to where it's not hideous.
Where did you hit? Because I
Yeah,
tabbed it and it kind of filled all this out for me.
yeah. You can
You returned before the curly bracket.
you can do it. Well, you can do it manually. And what I did was I hit curly bracket, and then it made my other curly bracket. and then I just hit enter, and it did it for me. But now it's not. But
Oh, it didn't do that.
basically, this is what you want it to look like. And hitting tab usually will get you somewhere close to there.
Oh, it does not look like that. Okay. I messed up, I think.
That's fine, and you can just format it like this if you want to manually.
Okay.
I do tab backspace all the time at work trying to get things to sit where they're supposed to sit.
Well, the indentations are not the same. Is that a problem?
Yep, they need to be right above each other, which is a good time to actually mention. Do you see the dashes between these brackets? Between all of these,
Yes.
anytime you see an open
Yes.
close bracket, there's dashes between them. So that's a code block. And
Oh, that's neat. Okay.
yeah. So, and speaking of scope again, this variable that we just declared allow, we have total access to it here. We have total access to it inside of this code block. But if we step outside
Okay.
into another code block, like up here
Right.
or wherever, we will not see it.
I love the organization.
Yeah, it's nice.
I'm over here trying to find that curly bracket.
Yeah, and I'll tell
I
you,
don't know anything.
the more organized you keep your code, the less you'll want to like hurl yourself out a window later.
All right. I've got it now. It
Yeah.
looks exactly like this.
Okay, cool. All right, so if allow. So this is our code block. This is only going to run if allow equals true. So if allow equals true, we're going to allow a change. And let's go ahead and do our LBL hello world text. And oh my gosh, I messed it up. I'm so dependent on IntelliSense. There we go. Dot text. And I'm going to set it equal to some string. I'm going to do yes you may. Alright, so this is going to change our label to yes you may if it changes, just for fun. Put whatever you want. I'm a dork, so, you know.
Boobs.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, so this is fully functioning code at this point. If we booted up the application and we hit change, it's going to only run this if we have checked the checkbox. And if we haven't, our code's going to get here, and it's just going to jump over and move on with its life, because it knows not to do this. In fact, go ahead and Control-Shift-Save. And before we hit play, it's my line 17, we're going to set a breakpoint. And I love these so much. But basically, you're going to go over to this little gray area right here. Do you see how it has circles pop up when you hover over it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're going to set one right by line 17, or the line where you declared your variable. And it's going to turn red. So what this is going to do is when we're running our code, when the program gets to that line, it's going to stop, and you can dig around and look at what's going on. I'll show you. If you're saved up and you're caught up, go ahead and hit play on Hello World up here to run your application.
Do I do that again?
Which part?
The red dot.
It's the gray area to the left of your line number.
Yep.
Go ahead and select it, and now your code is going to break. And by break, I mean stop. Like, it's going to stop its process. All right.
Cool.
So don't check your box.
Okay.
And hit change. All right, so you should be seeing something like this.
Okay.
Check this out. Go ahead and hover over the word checked. And right there you can see the value. It says false.
Okay.
And then if you hover over allow, that's going to say false. So there's a couple hotkeys here. My computer, I don't have to hit the function key to hit my function keys. That's really confusing. All right, so I need to hit F10 to go to the next line. But if that's like a real big pain in the butt, there are buttons up here for it. Right here, step over. this is gonna just jump to the next line of code. I'm gonna be hitting F10 though, because when you debug a lot, it's just easier. Okay. And it should take you to the next line, your if block. We're gonna see that it's false. We're gonna hit F10 again. It's gonna jump over. It's completely skipped line 21 because this is false and we don't want to run that. Simple enough.
Yeah.
All right, so I hit continue.
Why would you use that process?
So this is really good for when things get kind of complicated to see what's being ran. Like if your code's doing something that you don't think it should be doing, you can hit a breakpoint and follow its every line, see what the values are of all your variables and parameters and stuff, and you can see it allows you to get a deeper look at what's actually happening. So if you program it to do one thing and it's doing something different, then you can figure out why. Basically.
It kind of dissects it a little bit.
It's to take a closer. It's a zoom in. Take a closer look.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this because next we want to decide what it's gonna do if it evaluates to false. Because right now it's just skipping it. All right. So from here we're gonna hit enter after the breakpoint. So we're just gonna be right below our if block, and we're gonna do else. Right, and then we're going to do the same thing, except we don't need parentheses this time, because this is just going to be if the first one is false, if it evaluates to false, and we skip that first block, this is what you're going to run instead. And I'm going to format it manually, because IntelliSense let me down. Perfect. So for our else statement, we could just leave it, and we could have just not done this, but I don't know. Let's do an else. So I'm going to do LBL. I'm going to grab our label again, hello world. I'm going to change the text property to something completely different this time. And I'm going to say no change for you. And then I'm going to put my semicolon at the end because we're at the end of a statement. And let's go ahead and get rid of our breakpoint. We're just going to click on the red circle again and say goodbye, and it'll go away. So now we're not going to stop. It's just going to run normal. Oh, and then we're going to hit play hello world. Oh, and now we get to have some fun. So without checking your box, go ahead and hit change.
Change. Yeah.
And now check your box and hit it again.
Nice.
So you can just go back and forth here forever because it's running every time you hit change. Whee! Alright, and that's some functional code right there, so nice work.
But even though you uncheck the box, no, that's not true. Okay, so now I uncheck the box. Okay, so interesting.
What's up?
My mind is spaghetti. Okay, so if it's on one word, I'm a child, so I put a word that's not so nice. If it's on one word, word A, and you click change, and you don't have your box checked, it won't change. So you check your box, and you click the button.
Yep.
And it changes to your other word. But then you can uncheck the box, and it'll still change.
Yeah. So change is probably a misnomer, but really what we've done here is we've created a toggle for yes
It's
or
like
no
it lets
or
you
whatever.
in,
Yeah.
but you can go, you can go back.
Technically it's going to change either way, but if it's true, we're going to say one thing, and if it's false, we're going to say another. Probably a better example would have been setting the text to true or false, but that just sounded boring. So,
Oh, well, no, I understand. I'm just trying to, really understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's good. And it's important. And if you want to really understand it you can hit your breakpoints, and you can even put them inside of your if and else code blocks, and it'll
Uh-huh.
hit, it'll hit one or the other depending on the value.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's going to jump over, because that's all it's doing is if you have allow change checked, it's going to jump straight into the if block, because that evaluates to true, and then it's going to skip over the else.
Okay.
And if you have it unchecked when you hit change, it's going to jump over the if block because our allow evaluated to false, and it's going to hit the else. So it's going to do one or the other no matter what, and it's all dependent on what the checkbox value is equal to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My brain's trying to like apply this in a like a real life form.
Yeah. But well, after I go over the basics, and actually we're almost done with the syntax of the basics. We're going to go over some concepts and some classes that'll have a little bit of syntax associated, but we're really getting kind of close to finishing up the basics, and then we're going to start working on like the car inventory management system. And I think that might help because it is a real life scenario, something that like you could literally
Yeah.
use if you wanted to. Cool. So nearly done. Before we go though, I want to create our own function. All right.
Okay.
And we're going to copy and paste a lot of code, so don't worry about that. The first thing I want to do is this up here where it says hello world in our form
Uh-huh.
1_load. Just go up right before label hello world on line 12. Do 2 forward slashes and then a space, and it's going to turn the whole line green. Alright, so basically this is called a comment, and once you comment something out, it is no longer code. It is like a note that you're writing to yourself. It doesn't get evaluated. The program ignores it. You can put it literally anywhere. Like I'm going to create a space right here in front of our click event. I'm going to do // space and say this is a click event for our hello world button,
Oh, that's useful.
right?
That's useful.
Another way to do this is if you want to highlight the whole thing in the comment, you can do Control KC to comment it. I just double commented it. Or Control KU to uncomment it. So now it's trying to be code, but it can't.
Yeah.
So that's just a quick way if you're like, you know what, I don't want to run this anymore. You can just be like, boop, and you won't.
Oh, okay, okay.
But we do want this, so I'm gonna bring that back. Cool. So just a little note. All right, our new function. So here's where you really want to pay attention to your curly brackets and your lines, right? So we can see that this is a code block for our click event, and it's inside of this code block for our public partial class form 1, which we'll go over more later, but just know for now it's a code block that we're writing stuff inside, right?
Okay.
So all of our events are inside of this partial class form 1 form. So if we want to write another function, we're going to have to keep it inside of this block, but outside of these individual functions, right? Because we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to go to this curly bracket. It's line 28 for me. It's right after our click event, and I'm going to hit return twice because I want a little space between this function and our next function.
Okay.
And here we're going to write our own function. Alright, so we're going to make a new function. This is going to be private because we only want to see it here. We don't care about anything else right now anyway. We're not going to return a value, so it's going to be void for return type. Remove that. Okay. We're going to create a function name. I'm going to call it something. Let's do I'm going to do change text. I'm going to write it in camel case. So change text. All right, so at the end of every function, no matter if it has parameters or not, and we're not going to have parameters, so this is going to be kind of weird, but you absolutely have to have, no matter what, an open parentheses, close parentheses. And this will tell our code that we are sending no parameters. Don't send us anything. We're not returning anything. Leave us alone, right? And then we're going to want our brackets for our code block. Again, with a space in between to create a new little block, just like that. Next, I'm going to take all of this, everything from our variable declaration all the way down to the end of our else block. We see that? It's everything that's inside of our click function.
So you started with bool.
Yep.
Ended with that.
Yep, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to click on line 32 here. This does not feel... There we go. And I'm going to paste it inside of our new change text function. It's going to look like that. If you get red squigglies, you put it in the wrong spot.
You're pasting it underneath your change text.
Yep, inside of the brackets between the two.
Okay.
Cool. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to all that stuff we just highlighted, and I'm just going to kill it. It's gone. We don't want it there anymore.
Hold on, I'm checking my stuff to make sure it looks like yours.
Yep.
Before I delete it.
Yeah.
It does. Okay. So you did not delete. Okay, so you've still got brackets there.
Yep. Yep.
You just deleted. Okay, I see what you did.
Yeah, brackets are so important in C#.
I see what you did here.
Determines the shape. Oh man, it's getting dark. We're almost done, I swear. I swear.
And you still left. Okay, cool.
Right? And does it
I think I
make sense why I brought that code and not like the brackets and everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
You already have them established down there.
Yeah. All right. So if we ran this right now, there's nothing calling this, and that's probably why it's kind of a dark yellow. Right, we're gonna, when we click our button, it's gonna run this. There's not gonna be any code. It's gonna step out, and it's over. Okay, so we have no event handlers attached to this, nothing. It is just floating. That's why we have 0 references right here. This means this code is not going to run at this point. In order to change that, we're gonna call it. This will be our first time calling a function. We're gonna call it from our click event here. So up on line 18, inside of our brackets, in our click event function.
Okay.
We're going to call it by saying its name. We're just going to say change text. And now remember, if we're saying a function name, we absolutely have to have open parentheses, close parentheses. And then because we're at the end of a statement, semicolon. And that's it. Code's like dogs. You just have to call it by name. Change text. Come here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So throw a breakpoint on line 18. I want you guys to see this. All right. And we're all caught up.
Yep.
And I'm gonna hit play.
After we put that breakpoint.
Yep. After you put the breakpoint on line 18, hit play.
Save it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I save it after everything I write. Sometimes mid sentence, like it just goes off. All right. So we are gonna just hit change. Don't hit your checkbox or whatever. And we're gonna jump to our code. We're gonna see line 18.
Okay.
I'm gonna do F10. No, sorry, not F10. Don't listen to me. So F10 steps over. That's gonna keep you in the same block of code that you're in.
Okay.
If you do, it's called step over. If you do step into, that's going to follow the literal path, and it's going to take you into each function that you're running, which is what we need to do here. So I'm going to hit F11 because we're going to go into a new code block. And
Okay.
I want it's going to go there either way, but I want it to take me with it. So you can either do step into or F11, and see we've called our fancy new function we just made. It's beautiful. I'm going to go back to hitting F10 because we're just looking at lines in this code block now. We're going to see that it is false. If this is false, we're going to jump over our if, go to our else. No change for you. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue because I don't want it to take me to all the weird code generated places. And we can see no change for you. And then,
Okay.
yep, and then you can hit allow change. And you can do the same thing. F11. This is now true.
Oh.
Oh, side note. The breakpoint stops before it actually runs. So this has ran the line above it, but it hasn't actually ran this line, which is why if you look here, this value is true if you hover over checked. But if you hover over our allow, it's going to say false. If you hit F10 once and then go back, now it's true. So just something of note to remember when you're stepping through.
Nice.
So because this is true, we're going to go into our elf. Why do I keep doing that? Our if block. It's going to say yes, you may. It's going to jump over else. Perfect. And hit continue. Yes, you may. So you can go ahead and uncheck. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and remove this breakpoint. You can do it while your code's running. Alright. So I got rid of that breakpoint because I just want to play with the application. And we can see what it does. Same thing as before. Whee! Cool. But we created our own function. We made an if-else block. Has everybody made it here to this point?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Oh, heck yeah. So, yeah, that's a super useful bit of program here. Does nothing of value, but it does implement a lot of very, very valuable basics that we'll be using going forward.